Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Mark Lynn. Namaskar, Happy New Year 2024. Wishing you success, happiness and peace. Coming up in the next hour. Japan downgrades major tsunami warning after multiple earthquakes in north-central Japan. South Korea, North Korea and Russia also issue tsunami warnings. India launches a satellite for research of X-ray emissions from celestial objects, including black holes. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi says it's a great start to 2024 thanks to scientists. Russian President Vladimir Putin fumes after a series of Ukrainian missiles strike the Russian border city of Belgorod and kills 20 people, also injures 111.
It was a deliberate strike against civilians. Of course, it's a terrorist attack. There is no other way to call it. Should we respond the same way? Of course we can.
Israel pulls out some troops from Gaza, redirecting them for targeted operations against Hamas. Iranian warship Al-Broz enters the Red Sea at a time of soaring tensions on the key shipping route. Taiwan's president says that ties with China must be decided by the will of the people. Peace must be based on dignity. Well, Japan has downgraded the major tsunami warning to a tsunami warning for the Noto region. This is although it has urged people to evacuate the coastal areas after a series of strong earthquakes on its western coastline. A powerful earthquake with a magnitude of 7.6 struck central Japan on Monday. The massive quake triggered waves around 1 meter along parts of the sea of Japan's coast, with authorities saying that larger waves could follow.
A powerful earthquake with a magnitude of 7.6 struck central Japan on Monday. The quake triggered warnings for residents to evacuate some areas of its west coast, knocking out power to thousands of homes and disrupting flights and rail services to the affected region. Following an earthquake that took place today in Ishikawa at approximately 4:06 p.m., powerful tremors measuring up to 7 on the Shindo scale struck the Noto Peninsula in Ishikawa Prefecture at around 4:10 p.m. The massive quake triggered waves of around 1 meter along parts of the Sea of Japan coast, with authorities saying larger waves could follow. The quake also triggered tsunami warnings in South Korea, North Korea and Russia.
A major tsunami warning is in effect in Noto, Ishikawa Prefecture. We are currently observing a large tsunami. People near the shoreline and riverbanks, please evacuate to higher ground.
Meanwhile, Japanese government confirmed that some buildings collapsed after earthquake. Government also confirmed that they have received reports of individuals trapped in the collapsed buildings. Japanese authorities are still assessing the full extent of the damage, including whether any were caused by a tsunami.
The specific details are currently unclear, but we currently have received reports of 6 individuals trapped by collapsed buildings in Ishikawa Prefecture. We will continue to make all efforts to gather more information.
The last time a major tsunami warning was issued in Japan was in 2011, when a devastating tsunami with 30-foot waves hit after a 9.1 magnitude quake struck 370 kilometers northeast of Tokyo.
Our correspondent Chris Gilbert now joins us from Tokyo. Chris, how rough was the sea after the quake, or the series of quakes actually? And were the waves anywhere close to 3 meters that people were talking should be, the wave length or the height of a wave if it's a tsunami?
Yeah, the waves themselves reached just about 1.5 meters. I don't believe there have been any reports of waves higher than that, but the fact of the matter is that they overestimate how high the waves are going to be due to lessons learned from the 2011 earthquake and tsunami. They believed at that time that the tsunami shelters and evacuation spots were safe, and they were not safe at all. And so now they triple the threat effectively for people to really, drive home the safety measures that need to be taken to ensure that people survive these kind of natural disasters. But the tsunami warning has now been downgraded from a major tsunami warning, as we heard, to a regular tsunami warning, if there is such a thing. And but the government is urging people to be vigilant, as well as the other perils that are still in play, of course, being damage to infrastructure, places being cut off, facilities and services being cut off due to the damaged roads, power out to tens of thousands of people, a massive fire in Wajima city near the epicenter. And of course, as you can see, it's the middle of the night here in Japan, and it's quite cold, close to freezing. There are people without power and without heating. And so there are multiple dangers at the moment.
So what exactly is the damage assessment then from the quake and the several aftershocks?
Well, this is going to be something that's going to come to light during the next few hours and throughout Tuesday. As I say, the roads are cut off at the moment. There are blazes in Wajima that have not yet been put out. The fire services can't access that due to the condition of the roads. As we heard earlier, the government has confirmed that several buildings have been collapsed and that there are people inside of them. Now, the government is very conservative when it comes to giving out numbers in these situations until, things such as casualties and fatalities are legally confirmed. But it does seem by witness reports and media reports as well that a number of buildings have collapsed. There are people who are currently still trapped inside collapsed houses, collapsed 7-story buildings, or buildings that have collapsed onto their house throughout the Noto Peninsula, and due to the damage to the roads and the hour and just the lack of information coming from their isolated region, it may be some time yet before we just find out just how deadly this earthquake has been.
We'll leave it there. Thank you very much, Chris Gilbert. Thank you for joining us from Tokyo with the latest. And we are going to be joined now by Rajiv Shaw, who's a professor of disaster management at Keio University, Japan. His location is Yokohama in Japan, and Dr. Satoru Nagao, who's a Japan and Indo-Pacific strategic expert of the Hudson Institute, joining us from Tokyo, Japan. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for being with us. Let me start with you, Professor Shaw. Now, since Japan is prone to earthquakes, how prepared is the administration in general for tsunamis, especially after March of 2011?
Thank you very much. I think this March 11, 2011 earthquake and tsunami has given us enough experience to prepare at different level. One is the early warning system, and we need to actually understand a little bit of nature of this particular earthquake. That this is a massive earthquake of magnitude 7.6, and there has been seismic activities in this region, like in 2023, like just the previous year, we had major earthquakes in May in the same area, and the epicenter was also very shallow, which is 20 kilometers. And it was on the land. So there has been some calculation going on that if it was actually on the sea, it would have been much, much stronger. So the Japan Meteorological Agency has issued the large tsunami warning immediately.
Yes.
And I think one of the best part what we saw today was that how all the different media channel, they were giving very specific instruction of the people to evacuate immediately to the higher ground and the higher building. Sure. And that was actually a major lesson we learned from the previous major earthquake, the tone of the announcer, the information level of the very specific things on that which type of wave may come. The wave can come 2 or 3 times repeatedly. So these are some of the preparedness, I think, which we are seeing in the early warning system.
Indeed. So it was a good early warning system. Dr. Nagao, in what way does maritime cooperation cover aspects like being prepared for tsunamis? Because there's so much happening in the Indo-Pacific in terms of maritime cooperation.
In the earthquake in 2011, in this case, not only Japan Self-Defense Force, but also the ally of Japan, so the US, or other many countries, including India, sent many rescue team to help Japan's situation. But this time, the size is a little smaller than that places. That's why the damage is also smaller. And Japan will not ask any other country to help. But at the same time, currently we evaluate how big damage we are suffering this time. So that's why if the damage is more bigger than the expected, of course there's a possibility the maritime cooperation, security cooperation with allies and partners will happen in this place, I think.
Okay, indeed.
That's the current situation. Thank you.
Yes, Professor Shaw, people are generally quite amazed at how Japan recovers so quickly from earthquakes and how resilient the infrastructure in Japan generally is. How much of this is a lesson, for the world concerning disaster-resilient infrastructure? So I think you're maybe on mute. I can't hear you.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think that's a very important point you raised about the resilient infrastructure. Japan has been investing very strongly as the National Resilience Program on developing different levels of multiple defense, what we call, on the resilient infrastructure. One is, of course, like the lifelines. In this particular disasters also, there was, yes, power failure. There were the water supply failure, there were telecommunication failure, and this type of things happen. But the important part is that how quickly we can actually revive it back to action. And that actually shows the level of pre-disaster preparedness for the resilient infrastructure. You will be also possibly seeing the news that there were around 7 to 8 nuclear power plants in this Japan sea coast, and some of them are active one. But this time there was no major damages on any of the nuclear power plant.
Right.
And that was possibly one of the major lessons which we learned from Fukushima incident. And that's also the importance of the critical infrastructure.
Dr. Nagao, Japan is one of the founding members of the Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, CDRI. So, given the concerns now of climate change, how much more relevant is this body becoming, and what kind of cooperation is required actually from it?
In the case of the COP28 recently, this statement pointed out the risk of the maritime related disaster caused by the climate change. So that's why the people need to prepare the situation like tsunami or other things, so it will happen more in the future. But in this case, Japan's experience how to deal with the tsunami will contribute when people face disaster, I think. But at the same time, in case of the climate change or other environment issues, most important thing is how to prevent this kind of disaster before something has happened. So, of course, we should prepare the situation which is we should prepare the disaster, and we should prepare the disaster management. In this case, Japan can contribute, that's true. But yes, because of this kind of the repeated experience Japan has the will and the capability to deal with, I believe.
Okay. Professor Shaw, you've written a book on the Indian Ocean tsunami. So do you think now people after with early warning systems and all, people get enough time to get out of harm's way?
That's a rather tricky question, and I will say that every disaster is a learning opportunity for us. This year, 2024, will be 20 years from the Indian Ocean tsunami, and Indian Ocean tsunami was one of the largest mega event over last 20 plus years, which actually prompted the establishment of the Indian Ocean Early Warning System. Earlier, we had a very strong Pacific Ocean Early Warning System, which is mainly between Japan and US collaboration. But now India has taken a very keen and very strong role in establishing this Indian Ocean Early Warning System. And now the connectivity among different early warning systems also becomes very, very important. So I will say that every disasters are giving us the new opportunities of learning. And you also mentioned about the CDRI earlier, and CDRI is a flagship program which the Indian government has started in collaboration with many other governments, and Japan has been one of the very prominent member. I had opportunity to participate in many of the CDRI conferences and meetings, and I think that the technical collaboration among different countries are very, very important. And with the advancements of different levels of technology, I think we are in a more positive way to building our resilient nation and communities.
Indeed. A final question to you, Dr. Nagao. On an international level, we see that all countries of the region here, North Korea, South Korea, the relevant parts of Russia also, they issued tsunami warnings. So do you see the world coordinating adequately now to prevent any large-scale disasters from taking place?
It is true, we can share the information to deal with disaster, but at the same time, the view from the national security, there is a possibility the enemy, a potential enemy, can exploit such kind of situation. So in 2011, Japan faced a big earthquake. That time, our worry is China and Russia exploit this situation to penetrate defense line of Japan. So that's why at that time, the India's warship come to Japan and conducted the joint exercise in front of China with the United States. That was very helpful for Japan because Japan's defense force focusing on disaster management. In this case, US and India try to build a wall between Japan and China. That was a very big help for Japan. So because of this case, maybe we cannot ignore the national security even if the disaster situation. Of course, we should cooperate, but at the same time, there is a national security issue. That's also true.
Yes, absolutely. We leave it there. Thank you very much, Professor Rajiv Shaw and Dr. Satoru Nagao. Thank you for helping us understand this and putting it into context for us, the tsunami warning that was issued after an earthquake in Japan. Moving on then to our next stories. In fact, coming up in DD India News Hour. Taiwan's president says ties with China must be decided by the will of the people and peace must be based on dignity. Stormy weather slams the Californian coast over the weekend. And Pope Francis denounces violence against women, speaking at a mass in St. Peter's Basilica on New Year's Day.
Sir, try berry pulao. Too good. Good, no? Hey, why are you giving him such looks? Ignore tips and use your own mind before you order. Lots of people give unsolicited stock tips. It can be dangerous. Study the company and the risk associated. Invest only after analysis.
Do you know there's an investor protection fund for investors, IPF, but if your trade isn't executed on the exchange or if it's some guaranteed return scheme, then even IPF will not be able to help you.
And what if your broker becomes a defaulter? Then?
In that case, IPF can provide you with compensation.
Where did you learn this?
NSE's website.
In a world that never stops.
You're watching DD India News Hour. My name is Mark Lin. Well, 2024 started with a blast-off, and it was ISRO's ExpoSat that traveled on the PSLV C-58. The satellite's payloads were placed in the intended 650-kilometer low Earth orbit, and this is ISRO's first mission to study X-rays polarization. In fact, also it's studying black holes. Let's look at this report.
Talk about reaching for the stars. On day one of 2024, the Indian Space Research Organization put into orbit the country's first satellite to study X-rays polarization. It was a textbook launch and execution achieving the desired low Earth orbit.
The orbit that has been accomplished, which is available through various routes, it shows excellent orbit, and the deviations from the targeted orbit is hardly just 3 kilometers in circular orbit of 650 kilometer, and inclination is 001 degree, which is one of the very excellent orbital condition. And yet another announcement is the solar panel of the satellite also has been deployed successfully.
The rocket was the Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle C-58. This is India's first dedicated polarimetry mission to study various dynamics of bright astronomical X-ray sources in extreme conditions. The ExpoSat mission has placed 2 scientific payloads into a low Earth orbit. The POLIX polarimeter was developed by Raman Research Institute, Bangalore, in collaboration with UR Rao Satellite Center. It is expected to observe about 40 bright astronomical sources of different categories during a planned lifetime of 5 years. Expect X-ray, spectroscopy and timing payload can provide quick-time good spectroscopic resolution in soft X-rays. Expect is expected to monitor spectral state changes in continuum emission, changes in their line flux and profile over the long term. It would observe X-ray pulsars, black hole binaries and low magnetic field neutron stars.
See, layman also nowadays knows black hole. Huh? So
what is inside that?
I also don't know.
Mystery.
See, the problem is that even scientists also don't know black hole. We know theoretically there is something called black hole. Every star ultimately will die and become either a pulsar or a neutron star or a black hole. So we know today. And great scientist called Chandrasekhar, Subramanian Chandrasekhar has theoretically found out all of this many years back. After that, there has been a lot of experiments to understand and measure black holes. There has been further theories. Black holes will not remain always eating and big. It will also die one day. There is another theory, which again came from various other findings, recent findings. So there is a lot of interest on black holes. It speaks about the universe and its creation, its evolution, change, etc.
The successful soft landing of Chandrayaan-3 on the moon's south pole positioned India as a major space power. On 23rd August, the Vikram lander had made a historic touchdown on the moon with the Pragyan rover, then exploring the uncharted lunar south pole.
And this year we are expecting 2 more such test flights of the test vehicle, followed by the unmanned missions of the Gaganyaan program, and many more tests and experiments, which will be in number, very large numbers, which will not be coordinated from this control center. Similarly, we are going to have missions of PSLV, GSLV, as well as SSLV in the coming year, this year as well.
Somnath said that the Aditya L1 is going to reach its L1 point on January 6th at 4 p.m. He said the final maneuver is being done to keep it in the Lagrange point. Aditya L1 is the first Indian mission dedicated to observe the sun. Among India's forthcoming goals are the Gaganyaan mission for human spaceflight, the establishment of a space station called Bharatiya Antariksh Station by 2035, and a manned mission to the moon by 2040. With inputs from Ritesh Ranjan in Sriharikota, Bureau Report, DD India.
After China's leader Xi Jinping vowed reunification with Taiwan in his year-end address, Taiwanese President Tsai Ing-wen said on Monday that the island country's relations with China must be decided by the will of the people and peace must be based on dignity. Asked about Xi's speech at the New Year press conference, Tsai said that most important principle on what course to follow on relations with China was democracy. And China has been ramping up military pressure to assert its sovereignty claims over the democratically governed Taiwan, which on January 13 holds its presidential as well as parliamentary elections.
What is the future of cross-strait relations? I think it should be consistent with the principles of democracy. This is taking the joint will of Taiwan's people to make a decision. After all, we are a democratic country. On what course to follow on relations with China have to follow the democratic process.
Well, the new year has brought with it hope for a peaceful resolution as well to the Israel-Hamas conflict. But that was not the case on the first day of the year because Hamas fired rockets into central Israel, clearly indicating that they don't want peace anytime soon. DD India's Mihir Makuri puts this into context.
The Israel-Hamas conflict is in its 87th day and is raging with no end in sight. On Monday, Hamas terrorists in Gaza fired a barrage of rockets into central Israel, triggering sirens throughout the central and southern parts of the country. This comes after Israeli jets intensified attacks on Hamas infrastructure in central Gaza. In an overnight airstrike, the Israeli Defense Forces eliminated the company commander of Hamas's elite Nukba force in central Gaza. Meanwhile, thousands of Israeli soldiers are being shifted out of the Gaza Strip, redirecting them for targeted operations against Hamas. And with an aim to provide relief to Gazans, thousands of doses of vaccines against childhood diseases, including polio and measles, have started to enter the Gaza Strip. Friends of Hamas hostage Romi Gunen, who is being held in Gaza, organized a dance class in her honor in Tel Aviv's Hostage Square. The release of the hostages as well as the end of the conflict were at the top of the attendees as well as spectators' New Year's Eve wishes.
I think the biggest wish is for everyone to come back, everyone to be in their home. We want to celebrate with them. That's our wish.
I want to see all the abducted people to come back as soon as possible, maybe tomorrow to Israel, because every day that passes endangers their lives and their suffering and the suffering of the families. And my second biggest dream is to see also this war end.
This intense fighting began after Hamas launched an unprecedented assault on Israel on the 7th of October last year, with hundreds of gunmen infiltrating communities near the Gaza Strip. About 1,200 people were killed, while the Israeli military says more than 200 soldiers and civilians, including women and children, were taken to Gaza as hostages. Mihir Makuri, DD, India.
The Russian President Vladimir Putin called an attack on the southern Russian city of Belgorod over the weekend as a terrorist attack. And he said that this is not going to go unpunished, promising more strikes on Ukrainian targets. Putin said that Russia would continue to strike sensitive military targets in Ukraine. Russia, in fact, has denied Western as well as Ukrainian accusations that it targeted civilian infrastructure. And the Ukrainian missile strikes on the Russian border city of Belgorod killed more than 20 people. It injured more than 100.
Целенаправленный удар по гражданскому населению.
We too want to end the conflict as soon as possible, only on our terms. We have no desire to fight indefinitely, but we are not going to give up our positions either. You have fought, been wounded there, and so on. So we are not going to give up everything.
Вот там дети гуляют.
Well, Putin's statement comes as both Ukraine and Russia have accused each other of carrying out attacks on New Year's Day. In the Russian-controlled city of Donetsk, officials said 4 people were killed and 14 others were injured in Ukrainian shelling. Meanwhile, Ukraine claimed that at least 1 person was killed and 9 injured in a Russian air attack on the port city of Odessa. Officials say that Russia's air attack also targeted the Mykolaiv and Dnipro regions. Ukrainian's President Volodymyr Zelensky said that his country had become stronger in overcoming serious difficulties as the war with Russia moves towards a second year.
Damn. Everyone has something to smile about because it worked out, and everyone has something to cry over because of losses. Each of us fought, worked, waited, helped, lived, and hoped this year in our own way. Everyone. But everyone will find something common to all Ukrainians this year. The major result of the year, its main achievement. Ukraine has become stronger. Ukrainians grew stronger.
In fact, it's moving towards its second anniversary. It'll be moving towards its third year. Now, India and Pakistan on Monday exchanged a list of nuclear installations and facilities covered under the agreement on the prohibition of attack against nuclear installations and facilities between the 2 South Asian neighbors. The agreement was signed on the 31st of December 1988 and entered into force on the 27th of January 1991. It provides that India and Pakistan inform each other of the nuclear installations and facilities to be covered under the agreement on the 1st of January of every calendar year. This is the 33rd consecutive exchange of such lists between the 2 countries, the first one having taken place on the 1st of January 1992. Let's now take a look at other stories making news around the world. And heavy rains lashed parts of East Australia on Monday, triggering flash floods, inundating roads, worsening the situation of some residents reeling after the intense thunderstorms that hit the region over the Christmas holidays. The Australian regions were pounded by a wild weather system overnight, and more heavy rain is forecast Tuesday morning. Giant waves and choppy waters in the western U.S. state of California over the weekend prompted evacuation orders amid fears of flooding in Manhattan Beach. A pier remained closed as waves as high as 20 feet slammed into the shoreline. The National Weather Service in Los Angeles forecast significant flooding in low-lying coastal areas with powerful waves. Pope Francis on Monday denounced violence against women, speaking at a mass in St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican City. In November, the Italian lawmakers had unanimously backed measures to clamp down on violence against women after the killing of a university student and the arrest of her ex-boyfriend triggered fresh nationwide debate over the issue. Hundreds of Kosovars rushed to Pristina airport to travel to the EU countries on Monday after visas for Europe open border Schengen zone. They were waived. Kosovo was the only country in the Western Balkans whose citizens still needed visas to travel to the EU. Kosovo's Prime Minister Albin Kurti greeted travelers at the airport. Now, still to come on DD India News Hour. We'll discuss the successful launch of ISRO's XPOSat and the journey resolving to make India a developed country in time reaches central Indian state of Chhattisgarh. Prime Minister Modi to visit Lakshadweep Islands on Tuesday.
Sir, try berry pulao. Too good. Good, no? Hey, why are you giving him such looks? Ignore tips and use your own mind before you order. Lots of people give unsolicited stock tips. It can be dangerous. Study the company and the risk associated. Invest only after analysis.
Such good, so much good.
Do you know there's an investor protection fund for investors, IPF, but if your trade isn't executed on the exchange or if it's some guaranteed return scheme, then even IPF will not be able to help you.
And what if your broker becomes a defaulter? Then?
In that case, IPF can provide you with compensation.
Where did you learn this?
NSE's website.
In a world
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn. Here's a recap of our main stories. Japan downgrades the major tsunami warning after multiple earthquakes in north-central Japan. South Korea also, North Korea as well as Russia have issued tsunami warnings. India launches a satellite for research of X-ray emissions from celestial objects, including black holes. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says it's a great start to 2024 thanks to scientists. Israel pulls out some troops from Gaza, redirecting them for targeted operations against Hamas. The Iranian warship Al-Broz is in the Red Sea at a time of soaring tensions on the key shipping route. And now we are joined by Nilesh Desai, who is the Director of Space Application Center, ISRO, Ahmedabad, to talk more about ISRO's launch of the XPOSat. Thank you very much, Mr. Desai. Could you explain, in ordinary language for the ordinary man, what is the study of X-rays polarization?
Yeah, thank you. This ISRO's C-58 PSLV mission today successfully launched this XPOSat satellite mission, which is the X-ray polarimeter satellite, which is India's or ISRO's first dedicated scientific satellite from ISRO to carry out research in space-based polarization measurement of X-ray emission from various celestial sources. So we are targeting around 50 celestial sources through which we'll try to measure the polarization of X-rays, which will give us some more additional information in various energy bands, especially the middle energy band of 8 to 30 kilo electron volts, which will be studied through these 50 cosmic sources through Thomson scattering by this Pollux payload, which has been built by one of the major research institute in Bangalore, Raman Research Institute. And there is another payload from ISRO that is built by our URSC Satellite Center, which is the XSPEC payload, the X-ray spectrometry and timing measurement payload, which will give us the information about the spectral and the temporal studies. So this is the first time we'll have a simultaneous measurement related to polarization as well as spectral and temporal studies from space, from various cosmic sources, around 50 cosmic galactic sources we are targeting this time to study in various energy bands. So that is one is from 8 to 30 kilo electron volts and 0.8 to 15 kilo electron volts.
But Mr. Desai, how does the study of black holes, in fact, benefit, let's say, the common man? How different also is India's mission to other missions that are doing similar things?
Yeah, so it is almost similar to what other missions launched by NASA or European Space Agency. So IPEX is one of them by NASA, which was launched in 2021. And something similar now, India has also joined that space, Rare Space Club, which is trying to study various cosmic galactic sources. So not only black holes, but various neutrino stars, which and the supernova remnants, which especially we try to analyze the signals emanating from this, and that will basically directly, it doesn't benefit common man in that sense, like our other satellites, whether it is related to communication or navigation or remote sensing. But here, this is more a space science exploration program, and doing advanced research related to space science. It is one of the ISRO's major goals now in the new space era, where government wants that there is participation of private sector into the traditional satellite communication, navigation, and remote sensing arena, where private sector will play a major role. But this type of space science exploration and interplanetary missions will be the main forte of ISRO space program. As you have seen with the soft landing attempted during Chandrayaan-3, then launch of Aditya L1 mission, where we are going to study sun for next 5 years. And similarly, here we'll do the space exploration, studying the cosmic galactic bodies in real time, analyzing the signals available from that, and especially the polarization signals, which till now we have not studied in earlier science missions.
Moving on to other aspects of ISRO's launches. Now, the ISRO chairman also said that Aditya L1 is going to reach the Lagrange point on January 6th. You know, what exactly can we expect after that?
Yeah, so all of us are very eagerly looking forward to that historic date of 6 January 2024, where we expect the Aditya L1 to get launched into the halo orbit, as it is called. So after that, we'll have a constant viewing of sun from that Lagrange points for next 5 years. And especially, as all of you are well aware, the sun cycle of 11 years during that. So from 2025 to 28 is going to be the peak sun solar cycle period. So observation of sun during this period will be of great interest to various scientists all across the world, and especially for our country as well. So this mission will give us an uninterrupted view of all the phenomena happening on sun, especially during this peak period of activity in sun solar cycle, which is 2025 to 2028. So that increases the significance of this particular mission of ISRO.
And ISRO chairman also spoke about Gaganyaan. Now, as we look forward to this, it's the next big mission after all, human space flight. How ready are we for human space flight?
Yeah, so as Honorable Chairman ISRO has already pointed out, so after the announcement by Honorable Prime Minister in 2019 about ISRO's ambitions and India's ambition for putting man in space, so we are all well on the way to achieving this feat within the next couple of years, and for that, acquiring various technology has been going on since last 4 years. We have already mastered many of the technologies, especially the pad abort test, and the recent 21st October we had this test vehicle D1 mission, where we tested the crew ejection in case some mishap happens during the launch of this Gaganyaan. So those technologies have been already tested, and the landing in the sea and then recovery by our Indian Navy and Coast Guard. So those operations also have been completed. So now we are embarking on other technology demonstrator missions, PVD2 and other things. Then we'll have around 3 unmanned missions, which will test all the technologies in its full capability, so that by the time we are ready to put man in space, we have tested almost all the technologies. We have done the human rating of the various technologies, various elements, whether it is launch vehicle or the service module or the orbital module, as well as the crew cabin. So, and all the technologies which are being used in such missions where human beings are involved are to be human rated. So that all certification process, everything is going on, and we are nearing to acquiring all the technologies required for putting man in space in due course.
Mr. Nilesh Desai, Director of the Space Application Center, ISRO, thank you very much for joining us, and congratulations on the successful launch of XPOSat. Thank you for talking to us. Now, moving on then, the upcoming BRICS summit in Russia this October. It's set to undergo a significant transformation as it expands its membership to include 5 new nations alongside the original founding 5. In fact, they've joined as of today, the 1st of January. This expansion features Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates. It signifies a shift in the global landscape characterized by the increasing multipolarity as well as assertive middle powers challenging the established Western-led order. This move is also being seen as a strategic effort to reshape the global order into a multipolar world with voices from the global south taking a more prominent role on the international stage. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be visiting the southern Indian state of Tamil Nadu on Tuesday. The Prime Minister will attend the 38th convocation ceremony of the Bharati Dasan University in Tiruchirappalli, and the Prime Minister will also inaugurate the new terminal building at Tiruchirappalli International Airport. It's developed at a cost of more than 1,100 crore rupees. It's a two-level new international terminal building, and it has the capacity to serve more than 44 lakh passengers. That's 440,000 passengers annually, and also it has, in fact, 4.4 million passengers annually, and about 3,500 passengers during peak hours. In fact, the new terminal hosts state-of-the-art amenities and features for passengers' convenience. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will also visit Lakshadweep Islands, where he will touch down on the 2nd of January evening and will be there till the 3rd of this month. In Lakshadweep, the Prime Minister will inaugurate, he'll also dedicate to the nation and lay the foundation stone of development projects worth $140 million. Debyendu Mondal is there. He sends us this report.
Minister Narendra Modi will be on a two-day visit to the Lakshadweep Islands from January 2nd to 3rd of January. He will inaugurate several projects and also lay foundation stones for projects worth $140 million for the development of the island. The Prime Minister, during his visit to the island territory, will inaugurate the Kochi-Lakshadweep Optical Fiber Connection Project. This aims to improve the internet connection throughout the island for better digital connectivity. This transformative project will increase the internet speed in the island by 100 times, enabling more faster and stable internet connection for telemedicine consultation, e-governance, digital banking, amongst many other benefits. Not just this, the Prime Minister will also inaugurate a thermal desalination plant for safe and clean drinking water to the people of the island. The project will be able to filter 1.5 lakh litres of marine water every day. Prime Minister Modi will also inaugurate projects under the Jal Jeevan mission to provide clean drinking water to every household. A solar power plant for providing round-the-clock electricity will also be inaugurated. The people of the island are extremely happy with the Prime Minister Narendra Modi visiting the island on the new year, and many have expressed their happiness over this visit.
We are very happy and very proud to come in our Lakshadweep first visit, and I am very proud to see him in first time.
प्रधानमंत्री आ रहा हमारे लिए सभी को बहुत खुशी है, क्यों हमारा कुछ और डेवलपमेंट होगा, और हैप्पी न्यू ईयर न्यू साल के न्यू और डेवलपमेंट के लिए हम विश्वास कर रहा हूँ और उम्मीद कर रहा हूँ पक्का डेवलपमेंट के लिए आ रहा है.
The Prime Minister will also lay foundation stone for the renovation of the primary healthcare centre at the island, and construction of 5 model Anganwadi centres will also be undertaken for the 5 islands of Lakshadweep. These transformative projects will change the face of the island and is also expected to give a boost to tourism to the islands of Lakshadweep. Debyendu Mondal's report for DD India.
Now, under the Viksit Bharat Sankalp Yatra, it's being undertaken across the country, as we know, with the aim to attain saturation of flagship schemes of the government through ensuring that the benefits of these schemes reach all the targeted beneficiaries in a time-bound manner. And in this series, the Yatra or the journey has reached various districts in the central Indian state of Chhattisgarh. In the Arang block, camps for all the public utility schemes of the central government were set up. Stalls of various government departments like education, health, women and child development and the labor department were set up, and people were very excited to see the camps. They expressed their happiness. It was flagged off by the Prime Minister Narendra Modi on November 15 in Jharkhand. It's called the Viksit Bharat Sankalp Yatra. It's the largest ever outreach initiative of the government of India. And people in Lakhimpur Kheri district of Uttar Pradesh also welcomed the Viksit Bharat audio-video van, and people visited various camps set up at the venue, and they've got information about the various schemes of the central government and the state government. So apart from this, the medical camps were also organized for the people. The Ayushman Bharat cards, they were also distributed Housing schemes also for the beneficiaries were done. Under the Viksit Bharat Sankalp Yatra, the Indian Minister of State for External Affairs and Culture, Meenakshi Lekhi, held a public interaction in Horse Rani area of New Delhi. And during this program, the minister briefed the public about the various public welfare schemes of the central government.
कि विकास यात्रा मोदी की गारंटी वाली गाड़ी लगातार हमारे क्षेत्र में घूम रही है और हर ऐसे व्यक्ति को जो कि रह गया है भारत सरकार की स्कीमों से जुड़े बिना, उसके डोर स्टेप्स तक हम सर्विस पहुंचाने का काम करने का प्रयास है, उसको स्कीम्स तक पहुंचाने का काम हम लोग कर रहे हैं.
Let's take a look at other stories making the news across the country. The Indian Fisheries Minister Purushottam Rupala inaugurated the 10th phase of the Sagar Parikrama initiative in Chennai on Monday and embarked on the Coast Guard ship. The phase, it aims to engage with the fishermen and the communities across regions in Andhra Pradesh state. The minister emphasized the significant increase in budget allocation for fisheries following the establishment of a dedicated ministry. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh on Monday inaugurated the first all-girls Sainik school in Vrindavan in Uttar Pradesh. The school, with a strength of around 870 students, has been inaugurated under the initiative of establishing 100 such Sainik schools in partnership across the country, partnership mode that is, of which 42 have been set up so far. India's Assam state, the chief minister there, Himanta Biswa Sarma, has asserted that the government's tripartite peace treaty with the ULFA ensured the rights of the indigenous people of the state. The chief minister said that this accord ensured the land and the political rights of the Assamese people, and 90% militancy problem has been solved in the state. As the air quality of India's capital has improved slightly, the Commission for Air Quality Management has revoked the GRAP 3 measures. That's a graded response, 3 measures with immediate effect from the Delhi NCR region. However, actions under Stage 1 and Stage 2 will remain invoked. The ban on BS3 petrol and BS4 diesel vehicles in Delhi and surrounding areas has been lifted after GRAP 3 restrictions were revoked. Huge crowds gathered in India's ancient city of Varanasi on the first day of the year to offer prayers at Kashi Vishwanath Temple. Long queues of visitors were seen at the temple gates. Still to come here on DD India News Hour. Liverpool is going to take on Newcastle in a New Year's Day clash.
Sir, try berry pulao. Too good. Good, no? Hey, why are you giving him such looks? Ignore tips and use your own mind before you order. Lots of people give unsolicited stock tips. It can be dangerous. Study the company and the risk associated. Invest only after analysis.
Do you know there's an investor protection fund for investors, IPF, but if your trade isn't executed on the exchange or if it's some guaranteed return scheme, then even IPF will not be able to help you.
And what if your broker becomes a defaulter? Then?
In that case, IPF can provide you with compensation.
Where did you learn this?
NSE's website.
In a world...
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn. In the Premier League football, Liverpool is going to take on Newcastle on Monday, Tuesday actually for us here in India. But Liverpool are at the top with 42 points of 19 matches. Newcastle are at the 9th place with 29 points from 19 games. Jurgen Klopp is adamant that Liverpool will be able to maintain their Premier League title charge despite the imminent loss of Mohamed Salah to the African Cup of national duty. It's on nation's duty. Liverpool, in fact, let's move on to our next story. The world welcomed 2024 with a mix of celebration and somber reflection. From New York to Auckland, from London to Dubai, millions around the world joined the celebrations.
As the clock struck midnight around the globe, the world united in joyous celebration and heartfelt reflection, bidding farewell to the old and embracing the promise of a new year. From the stunning shores of Sydney, where silver and gold fireworks adorned the night sky, commemorating the 50th anniversary of the iconic Opera House. To the heart of Auckland, New Zealand, where the first fireworks of 2024 illuminated the cloudy night, accompanied by a mesmerizing laser light and animation show. Down to the vibrant beaches of Rio de Janeiro, where a dazzling 12-minute spectacular lit up Copacabana. 2 million revelers welcomed the new year with a first-of-its-kind light and color show, harmonized with a live orchestra. London's Big Ben echoed through the city, joined by a breathtaking fireworks display and a visual journey through the year's highlights. While on the Champs-Élysées in Paris, hundreds of thousands, including international tourists, celebrated the new year with grandeur, culminating in a traditional fireworks display over the majestic Arc of Triumph. The skyline of Dubai transformed into a canvas of light as the Burj Khalifa, the world's tallest skyscraper, hosted a mesmerizing fireworks show, drawing thousands to witness the spectacle. Meanwhile, in Ras Al Khaimah, another dazzling display unfolded. Vietnam embraced the new year with captivating countdown programs in its capital city, featuring music and dance performances by renowned artists, captivating both locals and visitors.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Thailand's icon Siam, with an $8.5 million extravaganza, solidified its place as a global countdown destination, offering a spectacular riverside celebration and vying for recognition among the world's top 5 countdown events. Across continents, as fireworks painted the skies and joy echoed in the hearts of millions, the world collectively embraced 2024, offering a hopeful start and a promise of brighter days ahead.
Well, that's all we have in this edition of DD India News Hour. Let's know your thoughts on the news of the day. Connect with us on Facebook, X and Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Mark Lynn from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks very much for watching DD India News Hour. Namaskar, and once again, a very happy New Year 2024.